that little fella right there. An inline fuel shutoff valve that's been added to this tractor. Why is it there? Why was it added? What purpose does it serve? Does it have a good function on this tractor? Or has it been added as a band-aid, sort of a stopgap measure to try and fix another problem? Let's talk about that today. Hi guys, I am Buck, WSR Weezer, putting the do into do-it-yourself, and I'm sitting here beside this 2003 Craftsman, what is this? LT2000 lawn tractor. And I see that this has an inline fuel shutoff valve that has been added to it. Those shutoff valves don't usually come that way from the manufacturer. Somebody added it later. Now this has a single cylinder 17 horsepower Kohler engine, and it's got a gravity fed fuel system, and sometimes you'll see these shutoff valves, particularly on gravity fed fuel system lawn tractors. Now that just simply means that the gas tank is sitting higher than the carburetor. So all it takes is the force of gravity to bring the fuel from the tank down to the carburetor. And it's on those sort of systems, not on the ones with a fuel pump, that you often see these shutoff valves. Now why? I can think of a couple good purposes that a fuel shutoff valve would serve, one of which would be just making it a little bit easier, neater, and cleaner when you want to change your fuel filter. Just turn the valve off. That cuts off the flow of fuel. You can remove your fuel filter without any big mess. That's pretty convenient. Another purpose that this inline fuel shutoff valve could serve would be at the end of the season, when you're ready to store your tractor for the winter. Shut off the flow of fuel to the carburetor with the inline shutoff valve, start the engine and let it burn all the remaining fuel in the carburetor bowl. Then you're ready to store your tractor without any fuel sitting in your carburetor all winter long. But I am afraid, and I know in this case, a lot of times these inline fuel shutoff valves are installed to mask another problem that hasn't been addressed. And the problem is a leaking carburetor. You see, what happens is over time the needle and seat in the carburetor fail, and you have a continuous flow of fuel into the carburetor. And because it's a gravity fed system, it'll just keep flowing as long as there's a place for it to go. And what can happen is the carburetor bowl can fill up, then it can fill into the throat of the carburetor, make its way through the intake into the combustion chamber. It can leak sometimes past the piston rings and down into the crankcase. And without even realizing it, your entire crankcase of your engine can be flooded with gasoline. Sometimes when this happens, if you don't realize it's happened and you go out and start your tractor, you're going to be really surprised. You're going to see that gas oil mixture shooting out everywhere through the breather assembly, maybe through the seals, or you could even blow a head gasket. And you've got a messy and potentially dangerous situation. So a lot of times people will install a fuel shutoff valve in that case, so that, you know, you're ready to cut the lawn, you open the valve, start it up. When you're done mowing, you close that valve again. Not a big deal, right? Problem solved. Well, here's the deal. Eventually somebody's going to get off that tractor and forget to shut off the flow of fuel to the carburetor, and it's going to leak and flood your engine and your crankcase. I got an idea. Why don't we just take down the carburetor, give it a thorough cleaning, and replace the needle and seat so that it's shutting off the flow of fuel properly, like it's supposed to when that carburetor bowl gets filled and the float rises to shut off the flow of fuel. It's really not that hard. I bought the carburetor rebuild kit, which includes the needle and the seat. I'm going to show you how to take down this carburetor. We'll clean it thoroughly. We'll install a new needle and seat. Problem solved. If you got basic tools and are willing to give it a try, I think you can do it as well. So let's get started. I'm going to take off the engine hood, just lift it and place it off to the side so that we have a little more room to work. And if someone has installed a fuel shutoff valve on your machine, then this is a time when you definitely want it in the off position, because we're going to be taking the carburetor down. If you don't have one, you'll want to pinch off the fuel line somewhere, maybe with a pair of channel locks. I sometimes use that, or you'll just want to figure out a way to drain the tank completely so it doesn't run all over the place. All right, let's take off the air cleaner assembly. So now we can take off the front part of this air cleaner assembly, which is the carburetor sitting on these bolts. It's got 10mm heads right here. Also, while we're at it, we're going to disconnect this ground wire. We'll pull apart this anti-backfire valve. That's easy. And we will get a pair of pliers and remove the clamp that's holding the fuel line in place. So we'll do a few of those things and get access to the carburetor. All right, so clamp here for the fuel line. I have a little that spills out here. Not too bad. This is going to be an 8mm . Then 10mm for these two nuts here holding on the air cleaner assembly. There's a breather tube back here also that will come off. Right there. And now this slides out, off and out of the way. So there's our carburetor. He's covered with a lot of dirt, but he should slide right off of these two posts. The new kit that we're going to have will include new gaskets too, so don't worry about those. So I've disconnected the anti-backfire valve and the ground wire, and I should be able to pull this off. After I do that, I will then disconnect these two linkages. The one for the choke, and it's always easier to take off these linkages after you've removed the carburetor from these posts, because you can bend it and move it. So the one for the throttle and the other for the choke. There. Our carburetor's off and down, and we're going to clean it off good. We're going to take it apart. We're going to put it through our ultrasonic cleaner. We're just going to give it a thorough cleaning while we have it off. And we'll also be installing a new needle and seat, which is what this job is all about. While I have the chance, I'll clean back here as much as I can as well. I like to clean as I go, but we're making good progress, and in 5 minutes time we already got the carburetor down. So I like to use some carb spray and an old toothbrush to clean off some of the surface dirt. So, 2003 model. I wonder if this is the first time this carburetor's been taken down off of the tractor. I guess there's no way to know. Yeah, I think gloves would have been a good idea. Thanks for mentioning that. Oh well. Alright guys, I want to show you a trick that I sometimes use when I'm testing out a carburetor needle and seat to see if it's sealing properly. Some of you will be horrified, but it's really no big deal. Now I've already removed the the bowl gasket, the bowl, which is held on by the anti-backfire valve. And so here's the carburetor, and I'm holding it upside down. So this is the float, and one of the first things you check is this: when you hold it upside down, is the float level? This actually looks pretty good. If it's sticking up like this, you know that the seat, if it's got a rubber seat, it's probably swollen, and you definitely will want to replace it. But if it looks level, that's pretty good. So here's what I like to do. Don't be grossed out. But here's our fuel inlet. Obviously, when the carburetor's upside down like this and the float's just hanging there, I can blow air through that all day, and I'm actually going to show you that. I can blow air through that all day. But if I turn it upside down, now the float and the needle is pressing, the float's level, it's pressing the needle against the seat, and if it's working right, a simple puff of air should not be able to blow through here. If I can, I know that that needle and seat's not holding. So I try the same thing. I don't blow with all my weight, just a simple, little puff of air to see if I can blow some air through the needle and seat when it should now be in a closed position. And if I feel the resistance and I can't feel any air going through, I know it's sealing properly. Actually, I'm not able to blow any air through this, so it actually seems okay. Earlier I had tried this test and I could blow air through it, so I'm definitely going to replace the needle and seat just for good measure, even though it appears to be okay right now. That's just one little tip, and no, I don't think just touching my lips to that is going to be that big of a deal, jeopardizing my health or anything like that. It's really no big deal. Alright, so let's get to cleaning this and replacing the needle and seat. So here's the carburetor rebuild kit that I bought. This is an aftermarket kit. Cost me $9 plus tax. It's Kohler part number 1275703-S. I'll put a link in the description where you can get that if you need it. If it's a lot of these Walbro carburetors that Kohler uses on a lot of their engines. And it includes the needle and seat and the other gaskets. The bowl gasket includes that red gasket is for the anti-backfire valve where it screws in to hold the bowl on. So that's the kit that we're going to use. Let's take the carburetor float off, and we can simply use needle nose pliers just to grab that pin. Don't lose it. Don't know if the kit includes a new one of those. I don't think it does. And now here the float comes off, and here's our needle. Now in our case, ours is a rubber tipped needle. So it's not a rubber seat, but it's going to be a the seat is it's going to be brass or something like that, and you can see that right here. So what we're going to do is clean this thoroughly. Maybe there's some gunk caught in there. The new kit doesn't include that brass insert, but it does include a new rubber tipped needle. So we're going to clean this carburetor and use the new needle that comes with the kit, and hopefully we'll get a great seal, airtight, fuel tight seal. So we're going to put this through the ultrasonic cleaner, get it all good to go, and then we'll put it back together and throw it up on the tractor. In my ultrasonic cleaner I use hot water, not boiling, just hot out of the tap, and I add some soap, Purple Power, my detergent of choice. we'll submerge our carburetor in there. And let it run for a bit. Okay, so let's try to put this carburetor back together. I had taken it out of the ultrasonic cleaner. I shot some shop air through it thoroughly to dry it, so we don't want any water left in there. And putting it back together is not that difficult. Let's start with this low-speed jet, and he goes right in here. So what I'm going to do, he screws in, it's spring loaded, so I'm going to screw it down so that it's snug. Don't over tighten it, just go all the way, just take it in as far as it'll go. And then back it off 1.5 full turns. 1.5 turns. I had already removed the plastic limiter cap that they put on these and discarded that. Not that big, so that's down. So there's a half full and half again. That should be good. That can be adjusted later, but I think that'll be fine just like that. Okay, so carburetor upside down, we'll put in the new needle with the float. So he just kind of hangs on the bottom here. And we drop him down into place. And then put our pin back in. Missed it. Try again. There we go. Just like that. Got a new bowl gasket. So that's good. Bowl fits on there. That's nice. The kit came with a new rubber stopper for the top of our anti-backfire valve. Also, a new gasket for right here. And screw that into place. Sort of compresses the gasket as we push it up. And then you can snug it down with a 1/2 inch open end wrench. Don't have to overdo it. Okay. Alright, that's pretty good. Should be about ready to reinstall this guy. And once again, I'm going to do my little test, unconventional as it may be. Blow a little air through the fuel inlet. Of course, in this position, the float's hanging down, so I should be able to blow plenty of air in there if I want to. No problem at all. But how about if I turn it upside down? Nope. So we got a good tight seal there. The float needle and seat is good. Otherwise I would have been able to blow air through there, and I'm not. So I think this carburetor is good to go. Nice and clean. We're ready to put it back on the machine. Alright, let's reinstall the carburetor. It's the reverse of what we did to get here. I always install the linkages first, while I still have the ability to pivot and turn the carburetor whichever way I need to. Then we slide it on the 2 studs. That's pretty good right there. Choke, throttle, everything moves as it should. Let's put our fuel line back in place. Slide the clamp up. We'll connect our anti-backfire valve, positive, coming from the key switch, and also the ground, which bolts to the engine right there with the 8mm. All right. Air cleaner assembly goes next. And we got the breather tube that hooks in at the back. And in my case, I got a clamp. Slide this up on the posts. Two 10mm nuts. Well guys, that's about it for today. I don't have anything against inline fuel shutoff valves. They can serve a good purpose. But if you've got a leaking carburetor, it's better to address that problem directly. And hopefully you were able to see today that it's not that hard of a job, even for a DIYer. So thank you for watching, and I would love to interact with you in the discussion and make that even more meaningful. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.